Live from ZTN Studios in Harare, Zimbabwe. Welcome to our discussion this afternoon, Connecting the Unconnected. Hello, I'm Andy Hodges. This broadcast is brought to you by Zimbabwe's TV network ZTN and our partners, the Internet Society Zimbabwe Chapter, or ISOC Zim. If you have any comments or views on our program this afternoon, please, as usual, contact us via our Facebook page, Zimbabwe's TV network, or via our Twitter handle @ZTN News. The number of Africans on the internet as a percentage of total Africans is still pretty low. For example, just looking at Zimbabwe and Zambia, internet penetration is about 15.7% and 11.5% respectively. According to Internet World Stats, as of March 2020, internet penetration in Africa was 39.3% as compared to the rest of the world average of around 58.8%. In Zimbabwe, there's an estimated 994,000 Facebook subscribers as of December 2019, which is only 6.7% penetration rate. In most African countries, the dominant players with regards to internet connectivity are mobile operators, due mainly to the lower entry costs. Very few African states today have developed a national cybersecurity strategy or have in place cybersecurity and data protection regulations and laws. The World Bank believes a digital economy in Africa can boost economic growth on the continent by up to 2 percentage points per year and reduce poverty by 1 percentage point per year in sub-Saharan Africa. According to a survey carried out by the African Union Commission, AUC, out of 55 African states, only 8 countries have national strategy on cybersecurity, only 13 with computer emergency response teams or computer security incident response teams, 14 with personal data protection laws, and only 11 with cybercrime laws. A similar report by Deloitte expresses similar concerns. Joining us today to discuss connecting the unconnected, and our theme, of course, today, cyber safety, key in the COVID-19 pandemic. We're joined in the studio by Jasper Mangwana. He's president of the Internet Society Zimbabwe Chapter, ISOC Zim, and Gabriel Matemba, who's a young Zimbabwean innovator. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us.
Now, in our first segment, we ask, what is ISOC? What do they do? What is the link between internet access and innovation? And why is such an organization or society such as ISOC necessary? Jasper, now, in our new normal, digital channels are just vital and important. I think COVID-19 has shown us that. Now, you're the newly elected president of Internet Society Zimbabwe Chapter, or ISOC Zim. Can you explain briefly what is ISOC, what do you do, and what is its benefit to Zimbabwe?
Oh, thank you so much, Andy. Internet Society Zimbabwe is a Zimbabwean chapter, which is a member of the ISOC Global, which is Internet Society Global, which has a mandate to promote connecting the unconnected, because we are advocating for the internet for development. We look at mostly 3 main areas, which is building the community network, or building the network, promoting it, and defending it. We are actually advocating for the good use of the internet and connecting the unconnected. As you have said in your statistics, quite a lot of work needs to be done as far as connecting the unconnected. We can't even forget about the cost of access to internet. So we as Internet Society, we are saying this is a gray area which is not only meant for the technology people, it's meant for everyone, because internet is for everyone. You can be a lawyer, you can be a social scientist, you always want to use the internet. So Internet Society Zimbabwe is an organization that promotes the use of internet and connecting the unconnected for the development of Zimbabwe and the nation and the world at large.
So that's how it will benefit Zimbabweans, in fact, getting more people connected, more people with access to information, more people with using the internet for innovation purposes, and also for ideas and generating communication and networking, I assume.
Definitely, Andy. There's quite a lot. We are going to talk about the activities and areas which ISOC Zimbabwe is working in collaboration with ISOC Global, where we actually bring in a lot of players. We've got different areas which can be internet measurements, which can be connecting that connected using community networks, which can be encryption, cybersecurity, like you've mentioned. What we are saying is Internet Society Zimbabwe say, whoever is going to be using the internet, you should join the organization and make your contribution and your voice is heard, so that we can shape the internet together.
Now, Gabriel, I'm glad, thank you for coming on the show, because you are a young innovator, a Zimbabwean young innovator. Now, I understand that you've won numerous awards. I think there's one here, and you've got one there around your neck. Maybe you could briefly run down some of the awards you've won. And furthermore, you are a member of ISOC. How did you join the society? What benefit has ISOC been to you personally?
All right, I've joined ISOC in 2017. I joined it through IoT Makerspace. Then the awards that I've won numerous awards, as you have said. I've won Clean Tech Challenge. I came second, silver medal. That's this trophy I won. That was in New York last year. Then I won another award, this one, First Global. I was part of Team Zimbabwe that went to Mexico, and we won Most Courageous Team. So in the recently held Africa Science Baskers, I won a Roma K Indonesia award for my project, and I also won a gold medal as well.
Oh, well, congratulations. You're obviously a busy innovator. Now, so tell me, ISOC then, as I said personally, how have the link between what ISOC is doing and your innovation, how have they helped you?
Or ISOC Zim provide us with resources to use in our own innovation project. Like when I've started a project called Electronic Aquaponics, they also provided me with Raspberry Pis and other things to use in my project as well. I've gained skills through the ISOC society, and I've linked up and connected with other people with like-minded as me, like those people with interest in internet as me.
Right. So I mean, Jasper, before I move to my next question, it's simple to join ISOC. I understand. It's about literally going onto your website, is it not? Just very quickly.
Definitely, Andy. It's easy. You just go on the internet and you sign up to ISOC Global, and you search for Zimbabwe chapter. Then you connect to that. Like he said, it was easy for him. He actually joined using the Mbare Makerspace, which was a brainchild for the outgoing president, Solomon Kembo, who did quite a good job in terms of Internet of Things. Why? Because internet is too broad. So they're in innovation. But we as ISOC, what we are providing is an environment for startups to have somewhere where they can start from. And we're expecting government in terms of policy and regulation to say, we cannot have an innovator for years, Andy. He cannot be an innovator for 4 years. We expect to whatever brainchild that he has, it has to be escalated and also taken into the industry. Aquaponics is whatever, we have problems in water in the country. So we as Internet Society Zimbabwe are saying, we are providing the framework for the youngsters to come up with the innovations, but we expect to work with other stakeholders so that we have a sustainable way of growing the innovation.
And of course, anybody can join. This is individuals, companies, societies, whatever, whoever you are, you can join. There is no limit or any kind of criteria that you're utilizing.
Definitely, and the internet is for everyone. If you go on the website, there are quite some recommendations that are required there, which are very simple and easy that everyone should be able to meet. Like I've always said, internet is for everyone. You can be a teacher, you use the internet. You can be a mom at home, you use the internet. You can be a maid, you use the internet. So internet is for everyone. So this organization is not only meant for the techies or people that are into internet. If you also see in terms of our executive, you realize that we have quite a few people with an ICT background. Majority of the people that we have in the organizations come from different areas. Some are bankers, some are social scientists. Why? Because we say internet is for everyone, because we need to connect and connect.
Now, Jasper, our discussion today, of course, is under the theme Connecting the Unconnected. What exactly does this mean? And I ask you this, because obviously it seems self-explanatory, connecting the unconnected. But I ask you this, bearing in mind that we have both rural and urban populations in our country. And how do you as ISOC see, how do you intend to attain the goal of connecting the unconnected?
Thank you, Andy. In terms of connecting the unconnected, it's actually one of the biggest mandates we have as ISOC Zimbabwe, because we're looking at the digital divide in terms of differences in people, especially those in urban and rural communities, and also the cost of the internet itself. There's one, access to the internet infrastructure itself. We can see what a lot of telecommunications players have been doing in Zimbabwe, obviously regulated by POTRAs. We had issues in terms of power. We've got issues in terms of access, 3G, 4G. Where do you get cheaper internet in rural communities? At times, it might not make the best business case. You cannot take a fiber link and bring it to Nkai. Maybe there are going to be 2 or 3 users there. So it doesn't make any sense to the regulator. But we as the Internet Society, we have come up with a project which has been funded for the past years called Community Networks. What we're saying is, let's bring in a single link to the community and have the community share that link to access internet at an affordable price, so that everyone can then afford. So as ISOC's Global, we're working on community networks. Other countries like Tanzania, Andy, they've brought in the community network. They've got an association that is registered, that is regulated in the country. You go to South Africa, they've got a good community network. If you've got time to go on YouTube and look at Zenzeleni, we do it ourselves. It's a network built by the community, for the community, as you employ, as you create employment creation as well as business opportunities for youngsters in those communities, including our traditional leaders, the chiefs and other people. That's what we are saying as Internet Society. The government should look into providing a regulatory framework to facilitate community networks, and also reduce in terms of licensing, because you can't be a telecommunications player. The barrier to that industry is so high because the costs are high. So that's what we're doing.
We will talk about the cost later, but Gabriel, let me come to you. In your opinion, is there a link between the internet connectivity and innovation?
So the internet access is an essential determinant of innovation. As you already know that we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which means most of the things are now going digital. So there's a necessity of internet connectivity in our innovations.
In fact, for entrepreneurs and innovators, it seems to be the new normal to use the internet to create your products or create interest in your products and your
ideas. Say it's the backbone of innovation nowadays.
Right, yes. Right. Jasper, we are coming to a break, a breather in our show, but I just wanted to ask you, I mean, ISOC Zimbabwe chapter is part of ISOC Global, you mentioned that, and their mandate is to help protect an open, globally connected, secure and trustworthy internet so everyone from individuals to organizations can benefit from the opportunities the internet has to offer. So what is the membership of ISOC Global, and what type of organizations and individuals is represented in the membership, very briefly?
ISOC Global is represented by people coming from different regions. There's a board of trustees that operates at ISOC Global, which include African chapters, the past weekend, and African chapters advocacy, which means we're represented as Africa. There's North America, each and every continent is represented there. Over and above that, there are also stakeholders that are different, that include non-governmental organizations, that include telecommunications players, that include regulatory organizations and individuals. They're part of that. As of ISOC Zimbabwe, Andy, as the last time I checked, with almost 503 members, and we are saying people should come and join because there are quite a lot of opportunities that are there when you're part of the organization, that include research, innovation, training, support, and fellowships, all that come being a member of.
All right, so there is a wide range of members, and in fact you're calling for more. Well, we now have to take a breather. You're watching our discussion this afternoon, Connecting the Unconnected. This broadcast is brought to you by Zim Papers TV Network, ZTN, and our partners, the Internet Society Zimbabwe chapter, or ISOC Zim. In our next segment, we ask, what is the current state of awareness in Zimbabwe concerning cyber safety and security? What are ISOC's main areas of support? What activities do they carry out in Zimbabwe? And do they support innovation projects in Zimbabwe? Now, during the breather, we will see a short video of the new executive that was voted into office for ISOC Zim chapter in June 2020. Don't go away. We will be right back. Welcome back to our discussion this afternoon, Connecting the Unconnected. This broadcast is brought to you by Zim Papers TV Network, ZTN, and our partners, the Internet Society Zimbabwe chapter, or ISOC Zim. Jasper, can you briefly give us, in your opinion, the current state of cybersecurity and cyber safety in Zimbabwe and the level of awareness of these among Zimbabwe citizens? I mean, just a good case in point is I do a lot of official communications, for example, with the government, and I noticed that they're still using Gmail addresses or private email addresses rather than using their own .gov, so to speak. Your comment?
Thank you, Andy. That's a very pertinent question in this current environment, Andy, because people are not aware of cybersecurity, its role and its importance in terms of community, business, and social life. But I believe what we need as a nation is to say, let's have an awareness and advocacy to tell people that just signing up on Google, that's not enough. There's more to using the internet, just signing up on Google or just signing out on Facebook. There's quite a lot that have to do with that, because we know cyber safety is key, considering that COVID has taught us that a lot of businesses are being done online. A lot of people are being ripped off because of scams online, because they're not quite aware. And a lot of young people meet a lot of people online. If you look at it, some people have never been met physically, but they actually tell that I've got a friend in Indonesia, I have a friend in Mexico, because they met them online, and they're already trusting them, because we are not really doing quite enough in terms of awareness, even though we're reaching to the cybersecurity month. I feel cybersecurity is something that is critical to Zimbabwe and the world at large, including our financial institutions. That includes the banks, of course, including our government itself, to say, let's look at it and be aware and be cyber secure, and also protect the information that we have, because the data protection and cybersecurity law, which maybe we're going to talk about, is something that is also important for Zimbabwe, as you've said in the recommendation from the African Union.
I mean, as you said, October is Cybersecurity Month worldwide. And what's interesting, I find, is that around the world you do hear about cybersecurity attacks. You hear of banks, different organizations that have been hacked. I think Facebook was hacked, Twitter was hacked, and so on. And all sorts of different well-known websites have been hacked. Yet that information isn't really out there. It's almost as if Zimbabweans have put their head in the sand and said, this isn't going to happen to us.
Not really, Andy. I was in one Zoom meeting. It was hacked, and some illicit content started appearing on the screen on the person was sharing. It was a reality. A lot of people actually help cyber attacks and all that, but they don't really understand, or they've not really experienced it. And I feel our financial institutions at times, they fear. The moment they declare that we experience a cyber attack, they have this fear that maybe the clients that they have, they might run away. It can be a university. If your system where you are going to keep the results of your institution, if you are attacked, you can't make a disclaimer on that, because they're afraid of that. But our thinking as Internet Society Zimbabwe is, let's come together to protect what we think is important and relevant to us, and have a cyber safe environment. That's the reason why our theme is cyber safety key in the COVID-19 pandemic.
Gabriel, you're involved in an electronic aquaponic project. Briefly, what is this project all about? And have you received, as I said earlier, you talked about support from ISOC. What type of support did you receive in terms of successfully completing your project?
All right. Aquaponics is a combination of hydroponics and aquaculture. So hydroponics is farming without the use of soil. Then aquaculture is just fish farming. So we combine the two systems together. So let's say we have a fish tank. You feed the fish each and every day, and they produce waste, which is ammonia. So naturally occurring bacteria will convert that ammonia into nitrates and other nutrients. So in aquaponics, we have water pumps that pumps the water with the nutrients to the plant pipes. So the plants will be using the nutrients from the fish's waste. So that's a system.
Oh, it's like a cycle.
Yeah, it's like a cycle.
Right.
So it saves water by 90%, because the water that's coming to the plants, the plants are using the nutrients and providing oxygen and cleaning the water. So when it comes back to the fish tank, it will be cleaner. So there's no need to use filters.
And this project obviously can be used on a large commercial scale. It isn't sort of just for little houses.
We're planning how to commercialize it with Jasper. Then I used what we call IoT in the aquaponics system. As you know, IoT is the Internet of Things. So I applied IoT in this aquaponics system. As you know, fish, they are very sensitive in their environment where they live, like to electroconductivity, pH, and water levels and stuff. So I used sensors. I used pH sensor, water level sensor, electroconductivity sensor, and temperature sensor. Then I did them in the fish tank. Then I connected to what we call an Arduino Uno. So an Arduino Uno, what it does, it collects the values. Then it combines them into the Arduino Uno. Then it sends the information to what you call a Raspberry Pi, which is a tiny computer. So through the Internet of Things, it can send information to my phone, so that I can control the pH, temperature, everything on my mobile phone.
Wow, it's so nice to meet some Zimbabwe innovators, particularly young innovator like you, Gabriel. Congratulations on your project. Now, I understand that ISOC, Gabriel, has created a Mbare Makerspace IoT Center. You've been involved in this project, I understand. So what is it, and how do you think that these innovation centers can foster innovation in Zimbabwe? All
right, the IoT Mbare Makerspace is driven by what we call the Moore's Law. So Moore's Law states that in every 2 years, the number of transistors on a microchip is doubles, and the price of computers is halved. So in other words, we're saying the internet speed of our computers and the capability of function is increasing, while the price is halved. So in Makerspace, we use what we call Arduino Unos Raspberry Pis, which are very tiny computers. So nowadays, you don't need those big computers. Like in the first days when the computers were made, we had what you call
5 floors, wasn't it?
5 floors, yeah, that's it.
Now, I'm told that the first one, the IBM, which had 5 floors, now it's our little desktop can do it, or our phones.
Sure. Now we're using what you call a Raspberry Pi. It's bigger than my phone. It's very tiny. You can actually run your programs there, then you can start doing whatever you want. So what we discovered in IoT makerspace is that people don't need the technology. They need something that they can benefit. Let's say people want food, not only technology. So people focus more on what they can benefit from the technology. So what is the problem here in Zimbabwe why people don't have access to internet, why they are not concerned about the internet? Because they want something that can benefit them. So in my aquaponics system, I was like using the IoT, using the technology to benefit people. So in IoT makerspace, which is in Bari, we are making projects that can benefit people.
Jasper, when I was looking at this Mbari Makerspace IoT Center, I mean, what struck me, of course, was the fact that it's really geared towards getting innovators off the streets of Mbari, so to speak, into a space where they can now work on their projects, come up with ideas, collaborate with other people. What's your take on your Mbari Makerspace IoT Center?
That was a great initiative, Andy, by Solomon Campbell, the outgoing president, in setting up that. Quite a lot of young people from different schools. The reason why they chose Mbari is because there are quite a lot of young people that may not have much access to the resources. If you look on the other side of Samora, that's where you find a lot of people have got these resources, even though they might not have the talent. But on the other side of Samora, that's the reason why Solomon and Tim actually said we should set up it in Mbari, St. Peter's Mbari, and actually looked for youngsters from different schools who have interest in robotics, in the Internet of Things. And this is just one project, Andy, out of the many that Internet Society Zimbabwe has been doing. We have a lot, including a trial run of a community network in Mrambinda. We have been doing research workshops, training new students in universities to write papers. We also have we're currently running a COVID awareness program in terms of the use of the internet and technology, in terms of communicating what is correct and what is relevant in terms of COVID in communities and in rural setups. So this is quite a few of the lot of things that ISOC Zimbabwe is doing.
I think we will talk about the training side of it a bit later, but what I find, you said it's at St. Peter's Place in Mbari. So how does it work then? You have Mbari youth interested in innovation, interested in what do they do? Do they just walk into St. Peter's and how does it actually work? How do you get them into the IoT center?
They join the Internet Society through the leaders that are there, because the call has been made in that community. If you want to spread the word in the ghetto, and you don't need a mobile phone. you
don't need the internet.
We're playing soccer tomorrow in St. Peter's, and the whole ghetto will be there. And you tell them, hi, how are you guys? We're doing this tomorrow. So they'll come in. So Mbari is a very active suburb, and quite a lot of young people, some that aren't even going to school, are part of their team. They actually have different groups. Those that are interested in aquaponics because they want to provide food to the community. Yeah, some are maybe interested in solutions. IoT Mbari actually made an application for vendors in terms of trade. So those are quite a lot of applications that are being done by our own people in our own society. Problems solved by solutions coming from our own people, with support, of course, from ISOC Zimbabwe.
Well, okay, that's great, but there is a link that I'd like you to explain, or a link that I see that's missing. You can have innovators, you can have the IoT centers coming up with great innovative ideas. The link between getting those ideas to market in a commercial way. How does ISOC play a role in that, in linking investors together with innovators and also helping get the product to market?
You know, and now that's what we are trying to look at on our strategy as ISOC Zimbabwe, to say we need to commercialize some of these initiatives and some of these projects so that we just don't document them and actually move around and say this is what we have. Like you've seen what Gabriel has, we're saying let's commercialize it, let's take it on a larger scale. We cannot have innovators for 5 years. You can't be a professional innovator. Why? Because if an innovation is really good, it has to get into the market and trade. So we're looking for partners and other stakeholders that might be interested in some of these so that we can link them. Actually, our ISOC Zimbabwe chapter is actually coordinating other chapters in Africa to say, if you're interested in aquaponics, we can assist you. But some are already taking it far up because they might have stakeholders and other partners who want to invest in that. We have noted the government has got set up its innovation hubs. Of course, we had to see a majority of the way coming from there, including the one at HIT. We feel these some of the primary sources where they can take the talent from to feed into those. And then the government should actually provide a framework to say, this innovation we think can work in our country. When we went to Victoria Falls with some other young men who had his motor vehicle, a toy vehicle which used water with salt on the exhibitions in the African Regional Forum.
Cut down our fuel bills.
Yeah. So we're saying, how do we escalate this to become big? So as ISOC Zimbabwe now, we're saying on our strategy as we move forward, we're calling all the stakeholders out there who really want to invest into innovations. At the same time, we need to look at the intellectual property rights. You know how it is. The guys with the money, they come, they take the idea, and they make theirs, they move on, and you continue to suffer. We also need that.
All right, so cool. Gabriel, yeah, it's interesting. Jasper made a very good point there, because whatever innovation you do in this country is exportable. So funnily away, in an interesting way, innovations in this country can reduce our import bill, so to speak, or increase our export receipts as a country by selling your innovation to other countries in Africa.
Sure, it's very possible. What we only need is the marketing point of it. So whereas we just, let's say I've invented like my aquaponics system, then I need to market it and find investors. Maybe we have investors here in Zimbabwe, we have investors in Zambia, we have investors in other countries as well. Then we have other investors which are global. So the point is like attracting the investors so that they come.
Right, yeah, and that's the link now that ISOC will help you do.
Sure,
I mean, have you tried to approach some certain investors on your own, or are you kind of trying to work on your own, or is it more trying to help with organizations like ISOC Zim chapter to help you try and find that investment?
Sure.
Funding?
I've uploaded my videos on YouTube, and I've got some investors who are willing to invest in my project. Then Jasper as well, I'm working with Internet Society Zimbabwe as well. So we are now going to commercialize our project as well.
Well, we do have a treat for you, because during our next breather, we're going to show you a video of Gabriel Matemba's electronic aquaponic system.
Aquaponic system.
So you'll actually see exactly how it works. And I must say, when I watched it, I was quite fascinated by it, because I thought of its applications in terms of areas like Kariba, or even in river fishing, or even farm fishing and things like that. And then using, as you said, it's a system that allows, so it's an integrated system which also cuts down the costs and so forth. So that'll be interesting. So we will show you a video in our next breather. And in fact, it is now time to take a breather. You're watching our discussion this afternoon, Connecting the Unconnected. This broadcast is brought to you by Zim Papers TV Network, ZTN, and our partners, the Internet Society Zimbabwe chapter, ISOC Zim. In our final segment, we ask, what can ISOC do, if anything, about the cost of connectivity in Zimbabwe? And what recommendations came out of the recent African Chapters Advocacy meeting? What is ISOC's view on Zimbabwe's cybersecurity and data protection bill? Don't go away. We'll be right back. Enjoy the video.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gabriel Matemba from Prince Edward School. I work with Internet Society Zimbabwe chapter, and also at IoT Makerspace St. Peter's, Mbari. Then this is my innovative solutions, which is called IoT Makerspace. So it's called electronic aquaponics system. So aquaponics is a combination of hydroponics and aquaculture. Hydroponics is just fish farming. It's farming without the use of soil. Then aquaculture is fish farming. So we combine the two systems together. So let's assume this is our fish tank. We feed the fish each and every day, they produce waste, which is ammonia. So naturally occurring bacteria will convert that ammonia into nitrates and other nutrients. So we have a water pump in here that pumps the water with the nutrients to this plant pipe. So the plants will be using the nutrients in the water. So once the water levels rise and get to a certain point, due to force of gravity to go to this plant tank. Again, use the same technique to get this plant pipe. Due to force of gravity, again, it can't be again, so it will be recycled. So in our electronic aquaponics system, the main concept is we feed the fish and they produce waste, which is ammonia. Naturally occurring bacteria convert that ammonia into nitrates and other nutrients. The plants use those nutrients and provide oxygen and cleaning the water for the fish, and it is a balance like that. It saves water by 90%. We don't use fertilizers and other chemicals, so it actually saves money. Then we applied IoT, which is Internet of Things, which is an emerging technology in this fourth industrial revolution, so that we can actually monitor everything using our mobile phones. So in here we have a pH sensor, we have electroconductivity sensor, we have water level sensor, we have temperature sensor. This is a water heater and a water pump. So these are connected to this control box. So in this control box we have used other components so that you can actually control everything using our mobile phones.
Welcome back. Our discussion this afternoon, connecting the unconnected. You just saw a video of Gabriel Matemba and his electronic aquaponic system, which was funded by ISOC Zim chapter. So that's tremendous news. And again, I compliment you, Gabriel, on your invention, so to speak. Jasper, the Internet Society recently held a virtual African chapters advocacy meeting. What was this meeting about? And more importantly, what resolutions or recommendations came out of the meeting, especially with regards to a Zimbabwean context?
Thank you, Andy. It was quite an exciting experience, because we're actually interfacing with what other African chapters are doing in the continent, because where we're operating from is almost a similar environment in terms of our economic challenges or social problems, almost the same. But what is important, where we taken as takeaways, is other areas of interest in terms of the development of the internet. Remember, we're shaping the internet together. We had very good sessions on the internet measurements. We need to now look at the internet measurements so they can create data to say, what are the speeds? When you say I've got 10 gig in my phone and I'm really browsing at 2 megabits per second, you as just an end user, are you really getting the 2 MBs? So we also had the session on the internet measurements. We also had issues to do with infrastructure and community development, to say in terms of infrastructure sharing, like what we've had the government recommending here in this country, to say let's do infrastructure sharing in terms of our telecoms players. Not so sure, is it too late, or maybe we can still put that in so that we can also make our environment quite conducive and strategically position our infrastructure. We also talk about encryption. Encryption is also an important issue that has also been raised in the advocacy meeting. Internet way of networking. This is another critical issue that we also looked at. We cannot even forget about the open internet standards, because for the internet to develop, Andy, I should be able to contribute to the internet, even though I'm Zimbabwe. So whoever does any development on the internet has to live, the standards have to be open and shared with others so that we can complement in terms of the developments that come in. We also need to talk about time security and community networks. So in the advocacy, we say that we as African chapters, we still have a lot of work to do, because we still have our bigger part of our people not connected on the internet. So which means we've got a lot of work to do in terms of innovations here in Africa, and that's where you find weird problems that really need weird solutions. So that's the reason why we have Gabriel here. So in terms of the advocates that we had with Victor, who's the African chapter leader, is we are sharing notes and projects where we can actually partner ourselves and other institutions.
Because these measurements are critical. You know, I mean, in my opening, I talked about penetration rates and so on. I mean, you need a baseline to say, okay, this is where internet connectivity is lower, particularly in rural areas. This area needs more infrastructure and so on. And that allows you then to plan accordingly so that you can connect the unconnected.
Definitely, and also that you need to realize the value for your money. Even if you have a problem on your connectivity, whatever telecommunications player you have, at times you always ignore it because you don't know the real value of the money that you're paying it for. So that's the reason why we as the internet, we're saying let's build the internet together, let's promote it, and let's defend it. Those are the three pillars we were talking about: building, promoting, and defending. Why? Because we need people to realize the value of the money. Because the more infrastructure we connect, it means the lesser the cost is supposed to be. So we need players like Internet Society to say, let's connect the unconnected.
Again, what I find, you know, which is interesting, is the sense that you come up with an innovation, like your electronic aquaponics. And then you've coupled that, which is a physical thing. I mean, you saw the video there with your physical pipes and your plants and so on. Then you've integrated the internet to make it work better and give you real-time information. Maybe talk us through how the internet and your invention, if I can call it that, are integrated and how it's helped you.
All right. Let me say, let me take it back to to the first days of innovations. There was in Silicon Valley, before people started inventions, the Silicon Valley, there was people who were unconnected, but through the internet they were connected. Then someone was good in chemistry, someone was good in computer science, someone was doing sort of computer of biology and stuff. So they started working together and stand up one thing. So what we need is the internet connection, so that you can connect with each other. So what I have invented in my project is I need to each connect so that people can get access to it wherever they are. So like, let's say I'm running an aquaponic system. There is need of person to check the temperature, to check the pH each and every time, but I don't need that. I need the internet connection so that I can control each and everything wherever I am.
Because in the old days, you'd have to probably go with a thermometer or whatever they used to measure the pH, physically be there. Now, of course, the sensors and through the internet give you the real-time data to your phone or whatever.
I can travel to New York or in London, then I can still control my aquaponic system while I'm there, which is
perfect. Okay, brilliant. Jasper, critics argue that internet affordability is still the biggest drawback, particularly in Africa. They allege that, and I quote, in sub-Saharan Africa, the cost of 1 gigabyte of data for the poorest quintile is almost 40% of monthly income. Now, in urban areas in Zimbabwe, internet costs are already becoming affordable. I think if you live in any of the major centers in the country, you realize how expensive internet connectivity is. And to many, of course, in the rural areas, I believe the situation would be even worse. How then, or what can ISOC do to improve the situation? Otherwise, do you think that your vision of connecting the unconnected becomes unachievable?
That's a tricky one, Andy, because you know what, internet is a global technical infrastructure from our end as Internet Society say. It's a global technical infrastructure which should enrich the people or the community as a force of good society. That's our view, and that's the reason why very soon we will be talking about the internet as a human right, because you have got access to information. So what we're saying is, we as the Internet Society, we recommending governments to come up with regulatory frameworks that promote community networks, because that's the only solution we can lower the cost of the internet. What do we mean? We are saying that a community brings in a single link of internet and they share it in their community, while they only pay one backbone provider, that's one ISP. At the same time, the users are plenty in that community. In that way, you are reducing the cost. We take an example, Andy, where you were staying at your home. You have 5 people in your house. Is it not cheaper for you to just bring in one Wi-Fi rather than you put the bundles on your phone, your wife's phone, your daughter's phones? It's going to be a bit expensive. So we want government to promote community networks, especially starting with the traditional leaders in business centers and hospitals in the rural and remote areas, and leverage on solar. We know that power is an issue because there's no way we can actually provide internet where there's no electricity. So that's another barrier to development in connecting the unconnected. So we need to leverage on the solar system. We've seen a lot of players in the power sector have actually opted to move on solar. So as ISOC Zimbabwe is saying, the ISOC Global is willing to partner with the governments and organizations to say, let's promote community networks, which is bringing the internet at a lower and affordable cost at the community and create employment for the youngsters. They at the same time educate them about the internet, as well as move in terms of advocacy, in terms of cybersecurity. Because if you look at it, Andy, people in the rural communities might not be aware of the dangers a mobile phone can have. They need education on that. If we do our cybersecurity in Harare and Bulawayo, what about those in Plumtree? What about those in Zarabani? We need to reach to the communities. We know the government is moved on devolution. So we need also to devolutionize our resources and connecting that connected.
Yeah, because of course you're 100% right. I mean, the cost of connectivity is one of the barriers to connecting the unconnected, there's no doubt. And I think some of the costs are inhibitive. I mean, I think if I know some of the figures, I mean, if you look at 30 gigabytes for 1 month, it can range anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000. And that is so unaffordable to individuals, even in urban areas and rural areas, even worse. Now, in my opening, I did mention that the African Union Commission study, out of 55 African states, only 8 countries have national strategies on cybersecurity. I am pleased to note that Zimbabwe is moving to be one of those countries because we're currently enacting a cybersecurity and data protection bill. Now, according to the bill's memorandum, the purpose of this bill is, bear with me, to consolidate cyber-related offences and provide for data protection with due regard to the Declaration of Rights under the Constitution and the public and national interest. It will create a technology-driven business environment and encourage technological development and the lawful use of technology. So Jasper, your opinion on the bill, and is it important to have such a bill in place, especially in this new digital age?
Yeah, that's. I made a presentation in 2017 in Senegal when African Union and the Internet Society African Office adopted the Data Protection Bill as an African Union. I made a presentation on the social economic assessment of the cybersecurity bill in Zimbabwe. And we have got three pillars which are quite critical in terms of the cybersecurity bill. The first one is privacy. Those are the way a lot of people would have issue. The other one is surveillance and obvious data protection. If you look at Zimbabwe, for the first time they wanted to come in with the cyber and computer crime bill, they realized that we cannot move on with that without data protection, because either data is physical or is digital. We need to have data protection first. Who has the rights to this type of data, and what activities can he do to this data? So as far as Zimbabwe is concerned, we are happy because Kenya did first of all declare a cybersecurity bill, later to realize that they never had the data protection. So they had to hold on to cybersecurity and go back to the data protection. I believe our ministry and government have actually come up with what we think can work for us. Or maybe what is needed is for us to really share together, including other players and the stakeholders, so that we have these three issues: surveillance, privacy, and internet freedom. These are the three things that are always an issue. Whatever rights that you have offline should be the same right that you have online. But it's unfortunate for us, and maybe to close, is that at times we have a lot of pseudo accounts on social media in terms of internet freedom control, as well as how people should be allowed to express themselves. We need to come up with a law that actually makes someone really be responsible for what they post online.
I mean, you're right, because some of the criticism locally has been, of course, they focus on the issue of privacy. That I think some of the statements I've read about, will government bug me? Will they read what I'm doing? Surveillance, yes. Yeah, and of course, that is a concern for citizens, and I think that that is also covered in the new bill. But Gabriel, I want to talk about something that Jasper mentioned there, the issue of cyberbullying and fake news, because it's become prevalent in Zimbabwe and in fact worldwide. I think it's the new phenomenon. And I mean, the cybersecurity bill talks about provide for investigation and collection of evidence of cybercrime and unauthorized data collection and breaches, and to provide for admissibility of electronic evidence for such offenses. So how important do you think is it that citizens are protected against these abuses? And also, you know, this debate also brings up the question of the fine line between freedom of speech and criminal actions.
All right, on this, there has been a debate over and over and long. It's quite long, and this debate has been going on. And I think it's very important for people to feel safe and to feel that their information and what they're doing online is protected, and they feel safe. So I think they are very important to have such laws which protect people against cyberbullying.
I mean, you're a young man, so you appreciate that cyberbullying exists, particularly in your areas and the people you hang out with. Cyberbullying, both men and women, this is not gender responsive. Everyone does it, and it can ruin lives, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
And fake news, of course, we all follow fake news. So we start sharing fake news, and suddenly it becomes fact. Jasper, your comments on this very briefly before
definitely, Andy. In terms of that's if I'll take you to what's happening in the US, the TikTok issue. You know, it's everywhere, and the people need to have a regulation, because fake news has actually been the in thing in these days. There are actually some social media handles that have been created just to make sure they cause that. But at the same time, what we're saying is, as far as we use the internet, let's use it for development. Internet is a tool that we can all use for development. It's like a knife. You can use it for the good. You can actually use it to step someone as well. So.
Well, look, finally, we are coming to the end. But Jasper, I mean, as I said, you are the new president elected in June 2020 together with your executive. Just again, quickly, where can people go? How can they join the organization? Please give us some information.
Andy, we are very excited as the Internet Society Zimbabwe chapter, which is new. We want to call upon Zimbabweans to join our organization and move forward and shape the internet together. We have a community engagement week, which starts with this show. Tomorrow we've got a lined up activities. Tomorrow we're going to be having the first 20 new members to sign up to ASOC Zimbabwe will win some prizes.
Oh, I'm not one of them.
So you have actually joined. So that's also coming. You can go on our website and sign up and register as a new user on internet. Internet is for everyone. Remember, another thing is also
the website is ISOC.
www.isoc.org.zw. We all have a .zw at the end. And also on Wednesday we're also going to have some social media quiz questions where people are going to win diaries, flash discs, and all that. While we're trying to have this conversation about cybersecurity, what can we do to protect to have people going online.
And they can, of course, follow you on Facebook as well.
We can follow us on Facebook on our ISOC.
Well, there you go.
Zimbabwe
It is easy to
Twitter.
join ISOC, so please get onto your internet connectivity, which is what we're talking about here, and get involved in the ISOC Society Zimbabwe chapter. And I think you'll see the benefits coming to you in terms of internet protection, internet security. We've come to the end of our program this morning, and a very vibrant discussion it was. And of course, our topic, connecting the unconnected. I'd like to thank our panelist, Jasper Mangwana. He's president of the Internet Society Zimbabwe chapter ISOC Zim, and Gabriel Matemba, a young Zimbabwean innovator. Gentlemen, thank you so much for appearing on the program.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Andy.
This broadcast is brought to you by Zim Papers TV Network ZTN and our partners, the Internet Society Zimbabwe chapter ISOC Zim. Well, that's it from me this afternoon. I'm Andy Hodges. Goodbye, and you all be safe.